Last night it was pretty cold, about negative 15 Celsius. And let's see if this thing fires up, because I also want to see if it fits into my workshop to fix some things. Gotta let room for a bit to we'll scrape the snow off. I think there's actually some ice on the inside as well. One of the things we want to fix. But let's see. Yes. Perfect. It is showing 0 right now, it's in the sun, but it's more like -7 right now in the shade. And all right, let this thing sit for a bit and then put it in the workshop. Do you think it's gonna fit? Let's give it a shot. Look at that. There's like 4 or 5 centimeters to spare. Now it's just the last bit of getting, it actually up. But I think we're going to be alright. Well, welcome back to Living with a Classic. And yes, this is my 1996 Rover P38 that I picked up about a month and a half ago. Bought it sight unseen. 6-hour drive from home, drove it back home. It didn't break down until the day after, so that was pretty good. However, now that I've had it for a bit, there are some things I want to fix on it. I first planned on doing it outside, but the weather turned really bad because I didn't know it was going to fit in here. I do have other places to work on cars, but this is the only one that's heated. So that was a bit of a deal breaker for me if this thing was going to fit in here or not if I'm keeping it long term. Because I want to be able to fix this thing during winter times as well, because that's when I will be primarily using it, and if something breaks, it's nice to be able to go inside to fix it. It doesn't have air suspension anymore. That's been removed and replaced with coils, which I really don't mind, but I actually think it feels sort of high. I have to measure at some point. It might actually be a little bit taller. I'll actually look through the receipt because I have everything from the conversion. It wasn't done that long ago. So yeah, that is one thing that makes me really actually think I want to keep this thing long term, just because it fits in my workshop. Other than that, I have picked up some winter tires for it, and I'll show you those later. They were free. Tires are pretty good. Wheels are not looking the greatest. We'll run them this winter and then probably paint them after that. We'll see. We're going to fix some common issues. P38s do have issues. This one, not really that many. But there are sort of 3 really big ones. We have the temperature gauge that pegs, not the engine running hot. It is something wrong with the ground somewhere. When I cleaned up the grounds on the engine bay, because remember I had an issue with as soon as you put on main beams or something, everything died. That's fixed now, and that doesn't happen. It charges really nicely. But still have some issues with grounds in the car. So the temperature gauge doesn't peg anymore, but it still sits pretty high, and this thing is not running hot. I checked both with an infrared thermometer and with the OD2 port, and it's at like 87 degrees when we're all the way in the red. So that's not the issue. We have bad grounds. There are a couple grounds in the car, so I clean the grounds in the engine bay. So I have good ground from the engine to the battery and to the chassis. However, I think from the chassis to the interior of the car is where our issues are. Because still, if I hit the brake pedal, especially when it's been damp outside, I notice that all the interior lights sort of dim a little bit when I do that. So, clean grounds. There we go. Another common issue is the heater core leak. It is very common on P38s. It's usually not the heater core, which I hope it's not. It is usually the O-rings that go in, because you have I'll show you guys later. There's hoses here, then there's pipes, and then you have the union between the pipes and the heater core. There's some O-rings. So we're going to get to those. Technically it's a dash out job, but there is a shortcut, a little bit of a hack, and we're going to do that on this one if it hasn't been done before. We'll see. Heater core. It wasn't leaking that bad when we drove home, because once the system's under pressure, it doesn't leak. It only leaks when it sits. So the carpets are a little bit damp now, and I'll remove the carpet from that side and have it out drying. And then once we've done everything, I'll put a fan in there and dry it out. Then it's clean ground heater core, fit winter tires. And this one will put a question mark before and after, because that is temp gauge. If we can fix it with cleaning grounds and things like that and taking the binnacles out, yes. If not, I'll live with it for now and run an OB2 breather, and then I will go online, order up an auxiliary gauge and fit that sort of next to the clock. I think that would look pretty nice. Make a panel there, maybe wrap it with some leather or something, I don't know. And just have an aftermarket gauge, which should be working correctly. But we have a list. Let me show you guys the plans around the car. We'll drain some coolant, strip out the interior, and yeah, fix it. Because the good thing is, a lot of these things are actually in this, not the winter tires, but the clean grounds and heater core. We have to sort of remove the same things to do both of them, so that's not really too bad. One thing I forgot to mention, I have picked up a good used stainless exhaust for this thing, which dual tips in the back, which would be really cool. This one is on there, is the original system, mild steel, and it's been patched pretty much everywhere. It's tight at the moment, but that's like all the advisories it's had in the past on MOTs is the exhaust. So we're going to fit a different one. Might not do it right now because I sort of want to go out and enjoy this thing. But as you can see, here's the pipe work going into the heater core. It's pretty much the highest point in the coolant system. So I don't think we're going to drain very much to get it out. My friend Daniel, who did some things to the car, he replaced the thermostat and a couple of things because of the overheating thing, which wasn't an overheating thing. So he has replaced the coolant, so it's pretty fresh stuff. But we'll just drain some of it out. And then I've started just a little bit last night because I was, come on, there we go, a little bit stuck because I was a little bit curious. So I removed this panel. We're going to set up proper lights in here later. I removed this panel, sits here. Here is one ground point. It looks very clean, but you never know when you take it apart. It could be bad. There's some grounds there, I believe. Those are some of the grounds for the VCU, which is under here. I'm not sure if there might be other points down here. I know behind here you have the fuse box, and then you have the main pluses going in, which comes from the fuse box in the engine bay. I checked all that. Those are good. The radio is still removed. We're going to try and refit that a little bit later with the ground, because that might not have been the issue. It might just been grounds. So what we're also going to do is remove, or I believe we're going to remove the whole heater control unit, because there's supposed to be a ground point behind there, and I think there's one behind the dash, or like instruments. But here, basically right in there is where the heater core is. So we're going to get that panel off. To get that panel off, you need to get the glove box off and a couple other things in here. So I'm going to get all of that off. There's just screws everywhere, and then we'll get a closer look at the interior, and then we'll also drain the coolant. There's a really handy big drain down there on the radiator, and because the radiator is pretty much brand new, I dare to use it. Just letting in air slowly in the system, so because the hole's pretty gigantic. Let that drain a little bit more, and then I think that's enough. You see, this is how big the plug is. It's pretty big. Put that back, and then we can start tearing apart the interior. I removed the glove box lid here, we want to call it. This connects to the connector for the light and the connector for the lock. And now I can get to this panel. I just removed the screws on it. This side panel I should be able to get off, because I believe that is to get this heater thing out. I'm not really sure. but we can see those big pipes going in there. Those are the heater core pipes, and then basically right behind this duct is where those O-rings are. So it doesn't look like anyone's been in here. It makes sense, it's a pretty low mileage car. So what you need to do then is, which is this sort of hack part, is cut this duct in two places so you can remove a piece of it. Then you can get to the heater core, and then what you put it back together with some tape. Yeah, you do that to save a lot of time, because otherwise it's a dash out job. But let me try and remove some of these things here. I'm gonna be a little bit careful with all the plastic. It's already a little cracked there and someone's glued it before. So try and get that off carefully. And then we'll see if I get this side panel off on the other side, see how I do that. And then I think there are screws under here to get that panel out. And then we should be able to see the heater core pretty soon as well. So it's really two birds with one stone here. Progress has been made. These are pretty easy to get out. You put like a trim tool in here and you click out this, and then you click it. However, this side, someone has glued it. So it shattered when I took it out. Unfortunately, the other side is fine. So I'm gonna have to glue it. I got my little helper here helping out with the flashlight. The other side, this side for glue, the other side is completely fine. So we'll see how it turns out. I might need to have to look for a good use one of those. I took the screws out here, and now this panel, it comes out. Hey, can I get some light here? Thank you. This panel should come out. That is good, and we have access here for the heater core. This doesn't need to get removed to get to the heater core thing that we're doing, but it was just a because of here. So we will remove that, see if we can see anything in there, in the earth point, and then after that, it is, if there is an earth point, we'll just clean the connections behind the binnacle. There we go. See, it's really good to have a helper. Well, it is a day or so later. I haven't really gotten any further with this, and I regret removing the whole temp sims, because it seems to be there isn't a earth point behind there. Don't believe everything you read on forums all the time. At least it doesn't seem to be right there. Then I went on the internet and I found this. This is a service bulletin from 1996. New Range Rover, customers complaining about any of these faults. All right. Temperature gauge reading high or flickering, check. Other electrical features not working, resulting in stored codes in the ECU, check. This seems to be exactly what's going on. And it is earth, electrical grounds and things. And as you know, these are controlled by a central computer located on your passenger seat. And I was always wondering if there was an earth for that, and there is. I checked on some forums and they said nope, it earths, doesn't earth through there. Yes, it does. So don't believe everything on forums all the time. Really, I need to find a workshop manual for one of these. If any of you guys have one of these P38s and you have a workshop manual that you think is good, let me know, because I want to know which one I should get. Anyways, we're gonna have a look through that. So it seems you need to remove the seat, and then there's foot ventilation on top of this, and fold the carpet back. You should see that. So we'll have a look at that. I've already cleaned that one on the engine and the chassis and all that. But there is one, this is the earth cable. Then there is something over here and one over there. So let's have a look at those as well. The lights in my workshop I've set up for the Jags. I usually work up where the bonnet opens the other way, so that's perfect. Not so great here, but get a light here. So let's see if we can figure this out. There we go. There is one earth point right there that looks quite corroded, and that one looks pretty good. Because I think I forgot to mention one thing. It happened when I hit a bump. I went sort of on a rough road and I hit a bump, and pretty much everything in the car died like it did before when I had a bad earth up there. So it is definitely something that is loose or bad. So we'll clean these two up, and then we'll have a look at the one under the seat as well, even though it's a pain to take that out. At least I think so. It might be quite easy. But removing the seat will actually maybe make the job of doing the heater corfing easier. So yeah, let's remove the seat. So if you're doing this, I just learned a shortcut. I wasn't sure about it. So you can loosen the 2 torque bolts here in the back, and you can lift up the seat actually enough to peel this carpet away. And the earth point is right there. So you can probably actually get to it without removing the seat. And I did. I didn't want to undo the seat belt, so I just laid it down in the back with a blanket and found a pen and some coins, and someone must have left his car somewhere with the sunroof open. We're going to vacuum it out as well, and that looks extremely clean, and it is tight as well, but we'll have a look at that. Other than that, this is what I was looking for as well, is a jumper cable. This car has been converted to springs. You need to put a jumper cable in there to do that, so that's good that that is installed. Let me clean up that one. That earth looks pretty good. It's the ones underneath there that actually don't look that good, but I'll clean up all of them, put some protective electric grease on them afterwards, and we'll go from there. But removing the seat is actually good, because now I can lay down like a blanket here or something, and I can very easily get to the heater thing in here. But I'll do all the electric issues first, and then we'll get to the coolant leak. So far, all the earth points have been tight and really clean, but I think I found the culprit. I had a closer look at the ones we found over here. So this is the main earth cable, and then there's that coming off it going to there. See how rusty that is? And then from there, that is the main body harness ground. So that's going into the vehicle, and then on the one behind there, that's ECU ground. That one looks better, but that one looks terrible. And that is the main negative cable here. So I'm going to see how well that cleans up. If it doesn't clean up terribly well, we'll pull an extra cable there down to that point just to give some extra earth. I really do think that rusty bolt down there, I think that is my issue. Just move the fuse box out of the way. Unfortunately, that snapped. That was really rusty. And you see how corroded everything is. But I've done some tests with a multimeter. I just have one end to the negative cable there. This is where the other harness was on. And this one, there was nothing on there. And you see how bad that connection is? But that's a good connection. And that's a good connection. So I think we're going to move this over there. I think that's going to be fine. And we'll pull an extra earth cable from here to right down here where everything is, just in case that connection is a little bit bad. I've tried cleaning it up, but so we'll clean up this area, but in case it's a little bit bad right there, I'll put a cable that is the same thickness as the one going off it here to there, and that hopefully should help everything. A little while later, not the most beautiful thing compared to original, but I ended up cutting both of the connectors, and I'll show you why. See how utterly green and terrible it looks in there? And then it's nice and clean the other side. The other one was even worse. That one. So remove those, and this is what I've done. That felt a little loose as well. I put that in the vise and I tightened it down, so that's really tight. But just in case, I ran 2 extra ground cables here, which are the same thickness as those, up to an eyelet here onto the negative post. This is from some extra lights. There's a relay here. They've had some extra driving lights or things, so I'm going to remove that as well. I also found another point there, but that was nice and clean. And then I have cleaned all of it, and I put some electrical connection protection stuff over there. So I can put the fuse box back in place. Lots of issues with P38s are from the fuse box, but this one, like, it doesn't smell burnt inside or anything like they should, and really feels like I've had an earth issue. If everything out here was perfectly clean, then yes, maybe, but I do get the good connections And when it comes to the positive side, it's just the earths. So what we're going to do to test is, I can't really fire it up right now with no coolant in, of course, but one thing I haven't talked about before is when I hook up a nanocom and I get the readout from the OBD2 port, it only ever shows about 12 volts or something, even though, you know, we're at 14 volts charging. So I'm going to see if I get the same voltage showing on the nanocom as I do out here when everything is connected back up. Alright, I just fired up and look at that. Not perfect, should be maybe a little bit, but we are showing 13.5. See, I have no coolant in it, but I mean, that was like 11 point something before. So let's see what is showing up here. Right, this will be the wrong way around, but who cares? 13.7. So let's check in here again. 13.6. I'd say that's not bad at all. The rest of that could just be some loss in the OBD2 port and all that. But now we're actually getting full voltage in here, and the interior lights are much brighter than before, and it actually fired up quicker. Like, crank the engine over faster. Well, I think we may have hopefully solved a lot of electrical issues. It's going to be interesting to see what the temperature gauge is like. But now I'm going to tackle the coolant leak, and then we can actually add coolant and run it for more than 30 seconds. On to the heater leak. So Range Rover, in the infinite wisdom, they put this duct work right here. There are the metal pipes, and then you have the heater core, and they're connected to it. But there's a screw, it's screwed from that way. If it was screwed from that way, we wouldn't have to do this. So many people say just use a saw, but I saw something else because I felt it was pretty soft, and using a knife works just fine. And if I heat the knife with a torch, so it's just a regular Stanley knife, if I heat it with just a regular torch, it cuts through the plastic like butter. So let me heat that thing up and I'll just show you a little bit. It's hard to use one-handed film at the same time, but I'll show you a little bit. And then I think I just need to get it off here, and I hope I can pull it off from here. If not, I'll have to make one more cut here. And then we'll just use the duct tape, which you know was actually used for, to get the duct pretty airtight again. Just getting the blade nice and hot here again. Doesn't have to be too crazy hot to melt plastic, but just a little. There we go. And now, let me show you guys. You saw that? It cut through there. Oh, sorry about the light. It cut through there like butter. Let me do the rest of it and we'll get this duct out of there and get to the O-rings in there. Duct is out. I did end up actually cutting it into place just to make it easier to get out. Look here. I'll show you guys with the light. And I feel my finger in there. It's wet, so that's where it's leaking. And there's that screw you need to get to. So if that was on the other side, we wouldn't have to do all this. But I'm going to get that one out, pull these two pipes out. There's two O-rings in there, and I have a whole set of just all sizes O-rings you could ever really need. I'll find some that fit and put it back together. I think I'll use some sort of sealant on it as well, just to make sure it's nice and tight. But that was good to see it was actually wet here and it wasn't. So it's probably not the heater core leaking. Like most of these, it seems to be that the O-rings in here fail. That's all back together with new O-rings. The old ones were completely rock solid. The correct size is 22 millimeters in their diameter and 2.5 millimeters thick. So I have some in my kit, put them on, and I used some Hylimer blue as well. The tip I have is I thought I had it tight first a screw, and then I wiggled the hard lines a bit, and then I could get them in even further. So now it seems to be all the way tight. I'm going to fill up with coolant and we'll warm it up. We'll put all this back together, make sure it stays watertight, and then we can also see if the temperature gauge works more correctly now that we fixed all the earth issues. So far things are looking good. Run for about, I don't know, 5 minutes or so. I have the lights on here so you should be able to see. We are not even almost a quarter of the way up on the gauge, and we're already at 57 degrees Celsius in the coolant system. Might we have solved the temperature gauge issue? I'm not sure. Another thing, remember I pulled out the radio? 2 reasons. It has some weird earth issues, and maybe it did or not, I'm not sure. But I noticed that it would always need a code. The cable for permanent feed and switch ignition, they were switched for some reason. So swap those. Now it works as it should. Comes on. Doesn't need a code. So that's very, very good. We are at 61. If I remember correctly before, the middle of the gauge before was right before 70 degrees. And then the red was pretty much 87. We're at 61. Let's see how it's going, but it's running nice and smoothly. And yeah, we're still pretty much full there. So yeah, we'll see how this goes. I think I've gotten most of the air out of it now. The heater hoses are hot now, and I am getting heat in the cabin. And here's the best part. Have a look at the temperature gauge. Right smack dab in the middle. And we're at 86, sometimes 87 degrees, where we were all the way in the red with the warning light on before. So we definitely fixed something. I verified it with the infrared thermometer, but definitely fixed the earth issue. Maybe we have something more, but I've cleaned all the known earths that I could find. And you know what? It's running sweetly now, and the gauge is working fantastic. And it seems to be completely nice and dry. I've checked over here by the connector, the overmakes were replaced. That seems really good. The only thing I've noticed is that I have a 0.1 of a volt difference between if I measure on the battery and I measure straight from the alternator. The only thing I haven't cleaned is the positive from the alternator. It goes to the battery and then goes up here. So I'm going to clean that up. But otherwise, I think we have a good charging system. We have a good coolant system. And we have a working temperature gauge. Right before I turn it off now, it actually reached 89 and sometimes flicking over to 90 degrees. Still stayed smack dab in the middle. So temperature gauge is working as it should, which is awesome. I'm going to clean up a little bit. I spilled a little bit of coolant when it sort of overflowed. Clean it up, pull this thing in here. I'm going to head off to bed. It's really late at night. And then tomorrow, we'll get the seat back in and a couple of interior things back in and take this thing out for, or no, swap to winter tires and take this thing out for a test drive. Here are the winter tires I got. They're not the prettiest in shape. However, the price was right. They were free. Someone offered them for sale, and it was sort of far away, so I wrote to him first, and then I was really busy those weekends, and then he wrote back about 2 weeks later and said that he's moving, and if I could pick him up that weekend, they're mine for free. So I went and picked them up. Yeah, they're sort of rough. I think in the future I will want to mount winter tires on these wheels, and then I have a set of nice 18-inch originals that came on the Vogues that I purchased for summer tires, but the price was right. These tires, there are no cracks or anything in them. And still plenty of tread left, so those would be good winter tires. I've put 2 on so far. Let me put the 2 on this side on, then we can roll outside and go for a little bit of a test drive and see how it feels in the snow. There we go. All the wheels are changed. I torqued them up. I checked the tire pressure, filled up a little bit of coolant after burping the system yesterday, and I don't have my pen on me, but we've done everything on the list. We cleaned the grounds, so that fixed the temp gauge as well. We fitted winter tires, and we fixed the heater core list. So it's almost getting dark here, but let's pull outside and go for a brief little test drive with the winter tires. drove just around the house and back into dirt road here near my house. I'm sorry about the darkness. I turned some interior lights on, but I just want to see how these feel, because here it is pretty much packed snow that's been in the sun all day, so it's really icy. So we're just gonna pretend like, oh wow, that's a deer. ABS works, and we stop. So these tires, they feel good. I hope that they're in balance and all that. Otherwise, I do have a friend that I recently found out has a tire balancing machine, so that's really nice. We'll just take it for a brief little drive here in our winter wonderland. Let me turn you guys around so you can see the beautiful views outside. Now this is a winter wonderland. Absolutely gorgeous outside. Sun's setting right now, and I don't know how well the camera's conveying it, but the sky's absolutely purple and gorgeous, and yeah, it's a bit slippery outside. You can definitely feel. You can see that it is just ice. Those two lines you see from tires, that's compressed snow that's been, you know, in the sun, because it's been kind of sunny today, even though it is -4 at the moment. Let us try gentle braking. Yeah, it's all working as it should. Well, I think that sums up this video. We fixed some of the common issues that my P38 had. The coolant leak with the O-rings at the heater. We fixed some common ground issues that was in a technical bulletin from 1996. So follow that, and then ended up being the grounds in the engine bay, actually the ones that are sort of hidden under the fuse box. So once those are sorted and I actually pulled some extra cables to them, it seems like, you know, everything's working fine, and the temperature gauge is smack dab in the middle now. It would have been all the way in the red with the red light on before, so that's really good. And everything else is working. We have a working radio now. Interior lights are much brighter. I actually have full 14 volts into the car when it's driving, so that's all really, really good. I think I just need to put the kids' seats back in here, and we can do the school run this tomorrow. I do have the XJ6 back on the road and running, but with it being, you know, as slippery as it is now, even though I have good winter tires on it, I'd rather have something with at least this has 4-wheel drive and ABS, even though it's just ABS on the rears, I think, the early ones. But still, it's better than nothing, and plus it'd be fun to use this thing for a bit. So I might take it for a spin later tonight and get some fuel and just put, you know, a couple more miles on it, put the kids' seat in, and then enjoy it a bit. Anyways, I hope that you liked this little update and little work done to the P38. There's still lots left to do to it. Oh, it's idling nicely in gear there. I want to paint the filler flap. I have a spare one. Paint that, put that all back together. I want to tidy up some things interior, but this will be an ongoing project. I want to go through and service everything. I just checked there's fluid and stuff in the diffs and things, but change all that and go through everything. Like I said, I'm not going to put a lot of miles on it at all, but just do the school run in the mornings, which this will be very enjoyable. Heat seems to work very nice. Unfortunately, heated seat on this side doesn't work. It's also a future project, but I think for now, this old 4x4 is ready to be out and doing what they're really good at, out in the snow. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with friends. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help out a lot. Until next time, I'm Adam. This is Living with a Classic. I'll see you soon.